Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua Ba'Shem Rakah HaKodesh, and double honor to the apostles of the great millstone that taught us what we know in this truth, and as well as Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua Brakatham to the 144,000, and as well as the 1/3. All right. And what I want to get into is a couple of things in regards to this topic, man, and to do with the plan of the powers that be when it comes to the people. And, for the longest time, we've seen many various racial motivated incidents being blown up throughout the media. And all of these incidents are there to, sway your mind emotionally and to, pitch the two races together, which Jacob and Esau has always been pitched together or against one another, okay, throughout history. But nowadays, what Esau is doing is Esau is using that and fanning the fire on that to possibly get something rolling in terms of racial confusion, such as a race riot of such, because we know that the powers that be have a model, one of the most important models, and this is something that we was going into last week, a couple of days ago on Saturday when we was live. And we was pretty much diving into the model of the brotherhood in the highest degree, which is Ordo Abkeo, and therefore, as always, as they've been doing, is using the Hegelian dialectic so that eventually they can centralize all power to themselves. Okay, so if these racial tension situations don't do it, then maybe a civil war just probably might well, with this Trump situation that I'm going to be talking about later on. So now let's begin by reading this. Jacksonville sheriff released image of weapon bearing swastikas after Dollar General shooting. A Florida sheriff released a photo of a firearm bearing an images of the swastika that investigators say was in the possession of a masked white gunman who carried out a deadly racially motivated shooting inside of a Dollar General on Saturday. The shooter, who was in his 20s, was armed with an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle and a Glock handgun when he walked into the store in a predominantly African-American neighborhood shortly after 1 p.m. and opened fire. Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters said during a news conference Saturday, images shared on the sheriff's Facebook page shows white lettering and symbols painting on the AR-15 rifle. A close-up of the weapon shows at least 2 swastikas painted on the rifle. A third photo showed the handgun next to a pool of what appeared to be blood. 2 men and 1 woman were killed. One woman were killed before the gunman killed himself at the scene, the sheriff said. So they said that the gunman killed himself, including. And here's the gun with the swastika sign on there, and as well as the rest of the writing, as you can see here. And this is what they're saying that was drawn on the gun by the guy. But again, we don't really know for certainty if this was naturally or racially motivated situation. This could have very well been an inside job, which I personally believe, because there's a photo of the governor, DeSantis, and he's standing in front of the camera giving the news with his face looking concerned, fakely, which you can look right through his face and you can tell that he already knew that it was going to come down this way, because the governors, and as well as those that are insiders and generally speaking, they're told of an incident which is about to go down before it even goes down. All right. So if you look at the man's face, as I have him on post-production, you can see that he's faking he's basically faking the look of concern. And primarily, most importantly, you got to pay attention to his hand gestures, which goes back to the Vesica Pisces, I believe, which goes back to this feminine goddess of India, or an Indian goddess, which is Shanti, which is right in relation, I believe, to the Queen of Heaven too. Okay, which is to say that, look, I'm one of y'all, and I know that this was an inside job. That's just what I'm putting it to be. All right. So that's pretty much it right there. So let me read some more of this here. So this reads, the shooter had sent the writings to his parents, federal law enforcement, and at least one media outlet shortly before the attack. A warder said the gunman acted alone, and there is absolutely no evidence the shooter is part of any large group. So yeah, that's all I'm going to read right there. Which really, there's no article to read. It's just a video that they're showing, which is on, Mediaite.com. So this reads, blatant racism, MSNBC host slams Trump over Riggers attack, code for N-word, and threats amid violent incidents. And what I got to say about this, man, is that they got this guy, Al Sharpton, coming at Trump because Trump made a statement against Jake, supposedly, with the term riggers, as he's putting out there. And this is just to keep Jake in line, once again, as I'm going to say, being in the Democratic Party. Okay, and pitching Jake against the Republicans instead. But despite all of that happening, of what this man is saying that happened concerning Trump, Jake is still vibing with Trump and still wants to vote for Trump instead. So now you have a problem because Jake is supposed to be on the left, liberal side of things, but Jake is becoming more Republican, and that's a problem to the government in general. That's why you have key players like this individual here, a puppet, that's going to what? Keep fanning the flames of, racial tensions. And I mean, he's just reminding Jake, as the puppet that he is, that look, these Edomites are racist, and the Republican Party is the most racist group, which they're both racist any doggone way. Okay? It really doesn't make a difference. The whole system that America has, the governmental system that America has, is been against Jake anyway. So what difference does it make? All right? They're all racist. Everybody has a racist part of them. Whether it's Trump or whether it's Biden, it doesn't make no difference. Okay? Left, right wing. And even when you hear that term, the right wing and the left wing, it's the same damn bird. That's the thought that should come to your mind. It's the same goddamn bird. That's all it is. So I'll tell you what, I'm not going to go somewhere else with this. I'm going to play the video, and then we're going to move forward.
They are Donald Trump and some extreme supporters are they're promoting this violence because their words are violent. And again, I could list 100 things that Trump and his supporters have said and have done where they promote fascist style violence against government officials. I mean, my God, just look, he's not a Trump supporter, but he's learning to play Trump's game. Ron DeSantis, when asked about federal employees, he said on the first day he's going to slit their throats. This is the rhetoric that has taken over in the Republican Party, and we see the consequences of it.
And the Republican Party leadership not coming out denouncing it, and none of the candidates or the top tier candidates are really denouncing the violence, the rhetoric, as you point out, slit throat, all the way to Donald Trump saying, I'm going to come after you, in the midst of people being arrested and one man shot dead because he had a weapon at FBI agents. And the racial language. I mean, this woman, to call a federal office or call a judge's chambers talking about to a slave, using a word that rhymes with the N-word. Donald Trump himself, their leader, using the term riggers, which clearly rhymes with the N-word. I mean, this is not 10 years ago or 30 years ago when we marched against him on the Central Park 5. I'm talking about within the last 24 hours, used the term riggers. Is this the kind of party the Republicans want to
Yeah, so that's pretty much all I got to say, man. Once again, this is nothing more than Ordo ab Chao. of a possibility of a dissension between the two parties, man. And that's why Trump said it out loud, and as well as this old crusty woman such as Sarah Palin. She mentions that a civil war is on the horizon. So like I've mentioned, man, it's really about pitching the whites against the blacks, the blues against the reds, and it's just all plays in, once again, as I'm going to use the term, the Ordo ab Chao, which neither of us are either black or white anyway. Like, these are just color codes that really go back to the brotherhood, as I beg to believe, and this is why I have the checkerboard here, the checkerboard floors in front of you, which is very Masonic indeed. So that's why I say the whole black and white thing goes back to that. Okay, these are just color codes that the powers that be have used for us, which we are neither one of these. There's no such thing as a white person, and there's no such thing as a black person. Never seen that in a day of my life. But there are such thing as an Israelite. There are such thing as an Edomite, though. Now that's a reality. All right, so now we're going to move forward, and we're going to read the book of 2nd Ezra 15 and verse 14. Because the elite, they say they want riots of all sorts. They're going to get it. Let's read this. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. And one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. So as vision is seeing what's taking place in the ending of the world, the ending times of the world in this case, this is what he's seeing, and this is why he's elaborating on what he's seeing visually. So if it's seen visually, which the Lord gave the prophets visions, then we know that these visions are going to be actualized in reality. So by the simple fact of the matter that they're pushing this war between the people, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, or whether they're black or they're white, again, this plays into the Ordo ab Chao program, which is one way they're going to finalize the New World Order. So this is a political EU. So this reads, Trump is a serious threat to the union of American states. The former U.S. president seems like a dark throwback to the 19th century when men like John Calhoun, Nathan B. Forrest, and Jefferson F. Davis wanted their troop to be victorious. Right? So this reads, standing in front of the Capitol building in Washington on March the 4th, 1865, then President Abraham Lincoln stirred the heart of his audience, declaring America should have malice towards none and charity for all. It was Lincoln's second inaugural address, and it was determined to heal a divided nation just weeks away from the former end of its bloody civil war, setting out his aim to achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves with all nations. But this magnificent and evocative speech, as well as the action of one of America's greatest Republicans, now stand in brutal contrast to the world and deeds of another Republican, former U.S. President Donald J. Trump. Trump is focused on his own glory, on his own interests, and not the nation's. He hurls grapes of wrath around the country, and his real menace was finally brought home in a report by the bipartisan Congressional Inquiry Committee on the 6th of January's insurrection. When the U.S. Congress was besieged and Trump's stolen election conspiracy morphed into a de facto coup attempt with criminal intent to overturn the votes in 7 states, which that was an insider's job. Thus, it's a relief that arch conspirator Trump is now being brought to court by special counsel Jack Smith, but it's hardly misplaced to still harbor fears. Trump seems a dark throwback to the 19th century when American Civil War erupted because men like John C. Calhoun, Nathan B. Forrest, and Jefferson Davis wanted their troop to be victorious, and the result, a bloody succession. Trump now similarly wants his troop to be victorious, and while that hopefully doesn't mean an actual civil war, the U.S. is in the middle of a disorienting cultural war, as well as you see the term the United States, which that term does not apply anymore because America is much more divided than it's ever been. We're talking about, as well as these various parties the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, and the LGBT, and you name it, and the list goes on of various different parties, which divides the people in general today. All right, and even including family units are being divided through all of this. Okay, so this is where it stands in today's time, and as well as you have just to mention, and despite all of these racial tensions and Al Sharpton addressing these racial tensions and what Donald Trump said and the likes, what you have now is you have a lot of Jakes, and this is something that I want to talk about now. Just speaking on something a bit different, but still on the topic, dealing with the plan of the elite when it concerns the people and what they want the people to do among themselves, which is to bring chaos. So now let's read this. The more you indict, the more we unite. Black social media reps for Trump. For years, American leftists have yearned for the day they see the police mugshot of a former Donald Trump, confident it would decisively terminate his political career thanks to an indictment in Georgia that was clearly conceived in the time for maximum political damage, and their wish was granted last week. However, the spectacle has unfolded in a way that surely causing a growing sense of horror among Trump's foes. Not only has his blocking at once Atlanta's nastiest jails galvanized typical Trump supporters, it's triggered a surge in support from insiders and the central Democratic constituency. Jake, I'm not going to use that term. Considering how Democrats take Jake supports for granted and routinely labels Trump a racist and white supremacist, imagine the utter consternation they're feeling as they witness a social media eruption of, I just say it, black sympathy, because a lot of our people are in blackness right now because they're without the truth. For Trump over an arrest that many blacks parallel the mistreatment they perceive. Blacks have received an American criminal justice system. Salakia, man. Let's get this out of the way. History repeats itself, but some history doesn't always repeat itself, but it sometimes rhymes. All right, so how do I get out of this right here, man? Okay, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, so anyway, let's read this. It says the first sign of trouble came when people calling themselves black for Trump and niggas for Trump posted themselves near the famous Fulton County Jail on Atlanta's Rice Street. So here's the videos and as well as the pictures, but primarily videos though, and showing that Jake supports Trump overall. And the ultimate reason why Jake supports Trump like this, because Jake remembers the good old times when Trump was in office and they were all doing pretty good, you know, which was the truth. And Jake want to return back to that. So if Trump gets back in, he can bring the good old days back for Jake, especially as long as a lot of these videos convey that these Jakes, even so much more, would be willing to possibly go to jail, as this man puts it right here, you know. And it's understandable, man, because a lot of our people don't know the truth, and the truth of the matter is that our people should be putting their trust in Yahweh Bashmi Yahushua, but because they don't know the truth, they don't understand this. But in them not understanding it, they're still going to fall victim to trusting man. And first I want to read this right here. Jeremiah 17, and we're going to begin by reading verse 5. Oh, let me begin by reading verse 4. Jeremiah 17 and verse 4. And thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in a land which thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever, which goes in tandem with what I just said. Jake don't have their heritage with them. And the heritage of an Israelite man is to always acknowledge the Creator by keeping the laws and as well as the rest of the statutes and the commandments. All right? And that's how the Israelites would cleave to their power. So because they've lost their heritage, now they're trusting in men. And just to make matters worse, of another nation that cares not for their well-being, period. Thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man and maketh flesh his arms, whose heart departed from the Lord. For he shall be like the heath in the desert, and shall not see when good cometh, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, in a salt land, and not be inhabited. So eventually, what this is basically saying is that they're going to be destroyed. Now let's read another precept. Let's get the book of Isaiah 30 in this case. Oh yeah, let me read this, because just like I've mentioned, the Israelite man is supposed to acknowledge the Heavenly Father. Overall, the whole nation for that matter. All right, and that's why I want to read this too. Thou shalt not have no other gods before me. Let me read it again correctly. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, and thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. So it's paramount to know that the Most High is the power above all, and he is to be worshipped and acknowledged only. That's what Israelite men are supposed to be doing. But going back to what I read in the book of Jeremiah 17:4, the reason why they're not doing it, because they've renounced their heritage. The Lord have discontinued from their heritage. And as well as at the same time, I can use that word too, they have renounced their heritage because we're out there on the streets giving them their heritage. But they want to be willingly ignorant. So now let's read this. Isaiah 30 and verse 1. Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, that walk to go down into Egypt, and have not asked at my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. And that's these Negroes out here, man. Let me go back to this over here. Declaring that Trump is their only way. He's the one and only that can solve all of the problems, that which was caused by Biden himself. All right. And as well as he can bring back the good old days when we was all doing good. Because Jake believes and thinks that the American system is all they got. But that's not the truth. The truth is that they have a power that they got to repent back to. Which we know, obviously, the elect are only going to do just that anyway. But the majority of our people, they're tied to the world. And they only but see the world. The world is the only one thing that they only see. And they don't see anything other than the world. So overall, people in America, as well as Jake in this case, they feel as though that Trump is their only option. And that's what I wanted to say. But now I just said it. So it's all right now. All right. So, and because of that kind of thinking, they're going to be ashamed of themselves. Because what they're going to find out is the same government that they've put their trust in is the same government that's going to turn against them when it's all said and done. And this is why this reads, and therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. So there you go. That's all I'm going to read right there. Because we know at the very end of the deal, Esau is going to come flying with his sword. And I mean that metaphorically, as it is written in the book of Revelations 12 and 12, that the devil will come down having great wrath, that he had but a short time. Which in this case, they're siding with Trump, and they hope that Trump's administration can bring things around and this and that and the third. But like I said, they're going to find out the hard way. Now, let me read this again. Isaiah 30, This is Isaiah 30 and verse 3. And therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. And America does take on certain customs, especially these witches and these warlocks behind closed doors. They take on the magic of Egypt. So America is somewhat likened unto Egypt in a particular way. Plus you have your obelisks and different areas in the United States, main cities especially. All right. So it is Egypt equivalent. And your modern day pharaohs are your presidents, which is what our people are now putting their trust into, which is going to be potentially president again, which is Trump. All right. And Trump is going to show his left hand towards you Jakes. That's the only hand that Esau really can use, is his left hand. All right. And it's going to be shown to you Jakes that the government that you trust in, which will be Trump's government administration, it's going to be the same administration that's going to come against you Jakes. As it is written in the book of Proverbs, the unjust is an abomination to the just, and as well as the unjust finds the just an abomination. And that's basically, in a nutshell, Jacob and Esau. They don't like each other. So eventually Esau, which really Esau is the one with the hate in his veins. All right. So he's going to be the one demonstrating firsthand towards you Jakes, that he has an hatred, an undying hatred that needs to be expressed towards you. And that's going to happen. All right. That's why scriptures like Revelations 12:12 is written. Even though they're going to know that they're going to have a short period of time of their ruling, but also in that time they're going to be able to express their hatred towards you Jakes. So again, as I'm going to say, you putting your trust in this devil is going to lead to your shame, as this is written. As I might as well read it again. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. That's exactly what's going to happen to a lot of you Jakes that actually co-sign with Trump. All right. Thinking that Trump is going to do you good, when in fact, in all reality, he's going to do you in a great deal of injustice. Let's read this. Proverbs 11 and verse 21. Though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished, but the seed of the righteous shall be delivered. Exactly, because the seed of the righteous are going to be unjoined from the wicked. Those that are joined unto the wicked, they're going to be destroyed right along with the wicked. Okay. Proverbs 16 and 5. Everyone that is proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Once again, though hand join in hand, he shall not be unpunished. So a lot of you Jakes that are wanting to join hand and as well as join forces in the military with this man, especially when the Lord makes a second return, a lot of you Jakes are going to get consumed in the Lord's fury and destruction when it comes. And these same devils that you trust in as well as their government, they're going to turn against you. And here's the scripture right here. Isaiah 10 and verse 5. O Assyrian, the rod of mine anger and the staff in their hand is mine indignation. I will send him against an hypocritical nation, and against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge to take the spoil and to take the prey and to tread them down like the mire of the streets. And that's exactly what we're going to see with our own eyes. We're going to see Jake getting stumped down. We're going to see ourselves having to face uncomfortable times, even in the hour of martial law being declared. And just to say once again, these devils are going to get down on you Jakes. So despite the fact that you co-sign with Esau and this governmental construct, the same governmental construct is going to go against you Jakes in the worst kind of way. And that's going to lead to your confusion. Okay, because the deal is for you to trust in the Lord, not to trust in man, and to allow another man to rise up above you of a different nation, which is in violation of Deuteronomy 15 and I think it's 17 and 15. Now let me read this as well. Proverbs 29 verse 27. An unjust man is an abomination to the just, and he that is upright in the way is an abomination to the wicked. Because even though Jacob is wicked, but Esau understands very well who we are, and they know that we're the people of Israel, and we're getting in the way of these devils and their evil, wicked ways, as well as them establishing a world of pure wickedness. So the way they see fit is to get rid of you, Jakes, and that's why there's records that's been put out there. Let me read this again. Proverbs 29 and verse 27. An unjust man is an abomination to the just, and he that is upright in the way is an abomination to the wicked. And that's how Esau sees us. He sees us as an abomination because we represent the right hand and they represent the left hand. And two can't go together. All right. As well as in the beginning when they were born together from the womb of Rebecca, they were fighting. So do you really think if you co-sign with Esau's just going dead the tension between you? No, nah. Esau is still going to be very well expressive. Esau is still going to be very well expressive with his undying anger towards you Israelites, man. And even though Jake is hella wicked out here, we're still seen as what Esau knows us to be, the children of the Most High. And I'm not talking about the average Edomite. I'm talking about these Edomites at the very top that know quite a bit above the average Edomite in general. They know that we're the people of the Most High. So in order for them to really fully go into their wicked agenda, they got to get rid of Jake and formulating a complete world where Shaitan rules it all. All right. So therefore, they want to get rid of you Jakes because you Jakes represent the Most High, and as well as you represent another world, and they can't have that around. All right. So it doesn't matter if you Jakes co-sign with this devil's going to seek to take you out anyway. So it doesn't really matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. It makes no difference. And the reason why you Jakes are siding with Trump, just like I mentioned, man, because Trump brought the good old days and times. But see, Trump is nothing more than a puppet that's going to lead you Jakes into your own destruction. All right. Somehow, some way, he's going to lead you into destruction. Whether it's getting you involved in a civil war. And if that doesn't play right, then eventually that same government is going to seek to persecute you and eventually kill you. As it is written in the book of Isaiah 10 and verse 5. The Lord is going to use Esau as the rod of his anger against you Jakes. The same way the Assyrians were a very threatening nation against our people in the ancient world. So that's all I have to say with that. I want to close giving all of the praise and glory to the Most High and the Son, Yahweh Bashmel Shai, Bashem Rakah Hakwadash. With that, I am out. Shalom.